everyone, welcome back to TRT World. Our main news this hour. North Korea says it's confirmed it successfully conducted its 6th nuclear test. Tremors of a magnitude 6.3 were detected near the site of the explosion. It happened just hours after Pyongyang reported that it had developed a hydrogen bomb small enough to be mounted on an intercontinental ballistic missile, or as they said in a statement, an H-bomb for ICBM. Well, I'm joined now by Brian Myers in Busan, South Korea. He's a North Korea analyst at Dosaengo University. Brian Myers, thank you very much for speaking with us here on TRT World. Now, the North have an ICBM that can hit the United States. They now have a hydrogen bomb. What are they going to do next?
Well, I think the main reason that North Korea is intent on developing a nuclear weapon is because it wants to force American troops off the peninsula. Now, that might have seemed a very unrealistic goal only 1 or 2 years ago, but now that the U.S. is exposed to the threat of devastating North Korean nuclear weapons, I think more and more Americans are going to start asking themselves, is this alliance worth it? Is South Korea really worth risking American lives for? And at the same time, the South Korean government is making clear that it opposes any sort of military action against North Korea. So basically what's happening now is I think the cracks are starting to show in the alliance, regardless of what strong noises Moon Jae-in may make on an ad hoc level. So North Korea's next step, I think, is going to be to up the pressure even further. Those people who think that North Korea is going to be content with India status or Pakistan status, in other words, that North Korea is just going to be content with being a member of the nuclear club, I think they're in for a surprise.
And a surprise in what regard, Brian? I mean, you're saying that they want to remove the threat of the United States from the peninsula. Do the Kim regime have designs on retaking the entire South Korea peninsula and unifying the country under their rule?
They do indeed. The main reason it's intent on developing a nuclear weapon is because it believes that once the alliance breaks up and U.S. troops withdraw, South Korea will be easy to subjugate. And the problem is that the South Koreans themselves have done a lot to encourage that hope. The current president, Moon Jae-in, who came to power in May, has himself expressed a commitment to realizing a North-South confederation in the very near future, possibly even during his current term of office. Now, should such a confederation ever come to pass, in the absence of American troops, it would indeed be easy for North Korea to bully the South into incremental sacrifices of its sovereignty. So this is a realistic scenario that the world needs to start paying closer attention to.
Absolutely. And are those noises coming directly from the Kim regime that they want to try and unite the entire peninsula? And as you mentioned, Moon Jae-in has been conciliatory since he's come to power, talking about unification talks, even talking about holding a football tournament held by both North and South. Do you think that's a weak position for him to hold?
I think it is. He's talking now about getting tough, about isolating North Korea and deploying more American tactical weapons. But those strong noises are being made against a very soft line backdrop. It was only a few weeks ago that Moon Jae-in was pledging never to agree to the use of military force against North Korea. And that means that whatever military exercises he engages in do not really have much force. Now, North Korea, for its part, has been explicit that its goal is final victory. And ever since the 1940s, that term final victory has meant the conquest of the entire peninsula, the toppling of what North Korea regards as a Yankee colony.
And so where do you see the next step in terms of the world's reaction to the North's latest test of a hydrogen bomb? As you say, it's a position of strength for Kim Jong-un. Do you see more sanctions? I mean, the thought of military action, of course, is unspeakable.
I think we're going to see the same stuff we usually see. We've seen these nuclear tests through 3 American presidents and 4 South Korean ones. And the response is usually the same. Washington and Seoul say it's entirely unacceptable. Stern measures are going to be taken. Various pundits say this time China is really going to get tough on North Korea, and nothing changes. And I think it's time for the Americans to shift their focus from Beijing, which is not going to help, to Seoul. And I think South Korea needs to learn from West Germany's example and stop playing with fire here with these soft line proposals for a confederation. I think South Korea needs to renounce those summit agreements of 2000 and 2007. It needs to renounce the Confederation model. And I think it needs to work for a closer relationship with its liberal democratic neighbor, Japan. Those are the kind of signals that South Korea needs to send if it wants to disabuse North Korea of false hopes.
And finally, Brian, and as quickly as you can, do you think if the United States were to withdraw in any way, as you mentioned, do you think there could be a way of the two nations, South Korea and North Korea, remaining at peace going forward?
No, you know, the cautionary example, the historical example that worries North Korea is not Muammar Gaddafi, as many people seem to think. It's the example of East Germany, and that's a country that collapsed in 1989 precisely because it allowed a rival, prosperous, pro-American state to keep thriving next door. It fell into the trap of believing in long-term peaceful coexistence. And that's a mistake that Kim Jong-un is not going to make, no matter what carrots and sticks he's presented with.
Really interesting stuff. Okay, Brian Myers from the Donsego University, thank you so much.